Hello, and welcome to the inaugural episode of MCTV's The Middle Seats. I'm Andrew Auger.
And I'm Jake Hensler.
The Middle Seats will be your source for all things cinema here at Marist College. Our show is divided into 3 segments. The first segment is the top 5, where we'll talk about the latest news stories from the week. Our second segment will be a featured review of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And our third and final segment will be a recommendation segment titled, There Can Be Only One. More on that later. So strap in, everybody. Take a seat. It's going to be a fun ride. So first of all, Jake, I think we should tell the audience a little bit about ourselves. First of all, thank you for doing this for me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I look forward to many more of these shows, hopefully, that we don't get canceled by MCTV.
I'd hope not.
Jake, why don't you tell the audience about yourself a little bit? First of all, 2 of us are roommates, just so you know.
Good roommates.
Good roommates. We don't have problems.
Not at all.
Usually. Yeah, but why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, my life pretty much revolves around track 24/7. That's the main thing I did at this school, which is why I'm glad Andrew asked me to do this show, because when he said this, I was so excited to do this. We both love movies. I mean, he knows everything about movies. I also love movies. So when he asked me to do this show, I was so pumped to do it, and I'm really glad to be here. Yeah, other than that, I don't know much to tell.
That's fantastic. Great job. Great job there. Basically, a lot of people that watch MCTV every once in a while know who I am. I've anchored a few shows for the news show, and I've been on the entertainment segment of the last few live shows, and I'm just really happy because movies really is a passion of mine, and I'm really, really blessed that I can come into an environment where I can make my own show and make creative things happen. So I'm looking forward to experimenting. You're going to have to bear with us a little bit. We're going to have our kinks, but we're going to try new things, and that's the one thing I'm hoping for the show is that everybody here has a great time. So let's talk a bit about the title of the show, which I came up with, the middle seats. Where do you like to sit when you go to the movies, Jake?
Not left, not right, pretty much dead center, right in the middle.
I would call the middle seat at the movies like the baby bear or whatever from the Goldilocks story. It's just the just right seat. It's perfect because you don't have the peripheral problems.
Not at all.
And the middle seats, this program, is going to be the best seat in the house for all things entertainment at MCTV. So, without further ado,
let's not waste any more time and dive right into our first segment titled The Top 5.
These are the stories that we found the most interesting in the past couple of weeks. They are ranked in ascending order.
Our number 5 story regards a future project of funny man Will Ferrell. The highly successful comedic actor has signed on to star in Matchmaker, a 70s-based drama that chronicles the famous Battle of the Sexes tennis duel between Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King. Along with starring credits, Ferrell is co-producing with his frequent collaborator, Step Brothers, and Anchorman director Adam McKay. The film is being adapted from a 2013 ESPN article written by Dan Van Natta Jr. concerning the subject. So, I, first of all, have a lot of confidence in this movie. Although Will Ferrell's not known for dramas, he is obviously a well-known actor, and Adam McKay is one of my favorite comedic directors, and those two working together always produce good results.
The thing with Will Ferrell, he's not very known for drama, but first of all, when he's in drama, he's always good. Stranger Than Fiction is a very solid movie, I think. I don't know if you saw Everything Must Go, but that was a very good movie. It came out a couple years ago. But Will Ferrell's also very good at sports movies. A lot of his comedies are sports movies. Very true. Well, one of your like favorites, Talladega Nights, right?
Yep, very funny. I mean, and Adam McKay and Will Ferrell both together. Anchorman and Step Brothers are some of the best, funniest movies I've ever seen. So to see them two together, no matter what movie they're doing, I'm sure it's going to be pretty good.
Plus, I know very little about this subject, but from what I know, Billie Jean King was one of the best of all time at tennis. And I just feel like this could be a very interesting story to adapt to the big screen. It can make for like a drama, like maybe not to the level of last year's Rush, directed by Ron Howard, but I'm hoping we both of us are big fans of Rush.
Very good movie.
But yeah, I'm hoping something, at least maybe a tier below that,
Right, absolutely.
Can't have too high expectations.
No, very curious to see where he goes with it.
Exactly. Our number 4 story is based on a much more high-profile project. Filming has begun on the much-anticipated Star Wars Episode 7, which is getting apparently ready to be announced. For example, the cast is being announced. We learned that Peter Mayhew will be returning to the iconic role of Chewbacca, with others such as Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill expected to follow suit. The project will be directed by Star Trek director J.J. Abrams, which I think is one of the biggest ironies of this whole project. It's currently slated for December 18th, 2015. So, I mean, how could you not be excited for another Star Wars film? Yeah.
I mean, I personally like all 6. I know some of them have their kinks, some of them have their, downfalls, but overall as a story, it's wonderful. And I've heard that George Lucas has enough information to literally just go on for ages with Star Wars. And I heard he's overlooking these 3, which gives me confidence.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the prequels.
Right.
And I think you and I have had our debates about the merits of the prequels. I think they're very, very disappointing films. But what I do enjoy about the Star Wars universe is that the mythology is so deep and so rich that we can get different stories from different angles and just keep this going for a long, long time.
Yeah. No, and also J.J. Abrams has a lot of credits in not only directing, but writing shows as Lost, being a writer of Lost, directing all the Star Trek movies, which I personally love, both of them. I think, with the right outlook, I think this is going to go very well, and hopefully, hardcore fans of Star Trek don't hate on him for doing Star Wars. I personally won't. I think it's going to be really good.
I think the Trekkie versus Star Wars fans thing is kind of stupid, honestly.
I think it's a little overdone.
Yeah,
but
it's a little over the top, in my opinion. But I'm very excited for this, obviously.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so our number 3 story turns our attention to the world of James Bond. When Skyfall was met with critical praise and over $1 billion worldwide back in 2012, Sony Pictures was eager to begin development on the next installment. Tentatively titled Bond 24, the film will see the return of Daniel Craig as James Bond and Sam Mendes as director. The rumor mill was abuzz this past weekend when it was reported that Academy Award-nominated actor Chiwetel Ejiofor is in talks to take the villain role. Ejiofor is best known for his starring performance in last year's Best Picture winner 12 Years a Slave. Bond 24 is currently slated for November 6th, 2015. Now, I have to say, Chiwetel Ejiofor, I almost picked him to win Best Actor. I did pick McConaughey, but he was right there, man. He was moving, he was great, and my dad as well watched it on an airplane and told me he was almost brought to tears. I mean, he is a very quality actor in that movie, and I think he can be a really good villain.
I really like seeing Chiwetel Ejiofor's rise to stardom here in the last couple of years because he's been going under the radar for a while. He's had nice small roles in films like Salt, which is a solid thriller with Angelina Jolie. Right. He does a nice job in that movie. Serenity, which is based on the Firefly TV show. It's the movie. He's very good in that. He's in a villain role there, which also gives me hope for this. But the Bond movies have been doing a good job lately. Yeah. I would say 2 of the last 3 have had solid villains, especially the last one. Yeah, Skyfall's Javier Bardem was fantastic. He's menacing and a little femme, if you would say. But Ejiofor has a lot. He's a lot of potential here to.
No, I agree. I just recently watched Quantum of Solace. Was also disappointed. I didn't really feel like it was a solid Bond film. But in Skyfall, saw that one with my dad actually. Thought it was very good, very well done, good Bond film. I agree with you. Javier Bardem was an awesome villain, and I'm curious to see how Chiwetel can live up to Javier Bardem in that. But I think he'll do well.
The thing about Skyfall, it was the perfect Bond movie for the time. Especially that was the 50th anniversary of Bond, and it's a movie that pays reverence to Bond. So I'm interested to see how Bond 24 can live up to whatever it is. Sam Mendes is back, and that's fantastic.
Right, awesome.
But you have high expectations.
Yeah, no, it's going to be pretty high expectations, definitely.
Yeah. Our number 2 story gives us some further insight regarding the plans of 20th Century Fox and their superhero properties. We all know that X-Men Days of Future Past is ready to roll into theaters on May 23rd, and Chronicle director Josh Trank's reboot of the Fantastic Four franchise is slated to arrive around June 19th, 2015. In addition to X-Men Apocalypse, which is set for 2016, Fox added dates for the Fantastic Four sequel and a sequel to James Mangold's The Wolverine, which was released last year. The Wolverine 2 will be released on March 3rd, 2017, with Fantastic Four 2 coming on July 14th, 2017. Fox additionally set aside a date for July 18th, 2018, which apparently is being held for a mystery project that is coming from the Marvel Universe. The thing that I find interesting about this whole story, first of all, I'm interested about the Fantastic Four, obviously, the X-Men. We can talk a little bit about that in a second, but I want to speculate what this mystery movie is, and I have 3 proposals for you.
What do you think?
The first proposal is that it's a Deadpool movie, which we've been waiting to see for a couple years now. Ryan Reynolds' X-Men Origins Wolverine is a garbage movie, I think. I think it's really stupid and really just the perfect example of how not to make a blockbuster. But Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is really, really good in it. The second is I've been hearing speculation of something called an X-Force movie, and I'm not really sure you've been hearing the speculation. I know neither of us really know what X-Force really is, but
no, not particularly, but I heard a little bit.
Yeah, and then the third thing, I'm thinking this is setting up an X-Men and Fantastic Four crossover, especially with Avengers being huge and Amazing Spider-Man doing their whole thing with Sinister Six and all that coming up, which we'll tackle in a couple weeks, I'm sure, when the movie comes out.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I think Fox is planting the seeds for these two to come together.
And that would be absolutely fascinating to really combine two universes like that. I mean, I'm a big fan of the X-Men movies. The Fantastic Four was a bit of a flop, in my opinion. But although I think with all the new, ideas and superhero movies coming out lately and the success of them, I think they can really do Fantastic Four done, really well again. And also, they're doing a whole different kind of cast now. They're going with a younger version.
Yeah. I do like the cast that they're assembling. I know you think Miles Teller is too young for the role. Is that correct?
Yeah, I personally think Mr. Fantastic is known to be a bit of a aged, wise kind of superhero. But Miles Teller is definitely not a bad actor. So, if he can do it well, he can do it well.
The thing I like is that if they can keep the continuity all together, so everybody's young here. And I
Right.
also really like the casting of Michael B. Jordan.
Me too.
A
I agree.
young, talented actor as Human Torch. And it doesn't really matter for the race. One more thing I want to tackle about this story. The Wolverine, too. Is this the last time that we could potentially see Hugh Jackman in the role as the Wolverine? Because he's getting up there in age.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. And actors typically, I'm pretty sure actors typically don't like to do the same role over and over and over again in fear of being stuck to that role. Now, I think he's branched out with Les Mis, Prisoners, which I loved, Prestige. I think he's branched out of that, and that fear really shouldn't be with him anymore. But I agree, he is getting older. And, I don't know how much longer he's going to want to do Wolverine. So I agree, this may be the last time he may do it.
It's very
unfortunately.
physical. It's a very physical role, too.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, and now for our number one story, comes from the all-powerful Marvel Studios. With the release of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Marvel continues to rake in the profits from their exciting blockbuster adventures. The studio is currently in the middle of Phase 2, which will culminate in the release of Avengers: Age of Ultron next summer. Planning for Phase 3 is also underway with Ant-Man, Captain America 3, and Doctor Strange all in pre-production. It now appears their plan is much more expansive than we may have originally thought. However, as Disney CEO Bob Iger was recently quoted as saying that Marvel has films slated until 2028. Speculation has run rampant on what those films could possibly be, as it may be possible that characters will be spun off from upcoming films such as Age of Ultron and this August Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I know I didn't know too much about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I know you're a big fan, and you're getting me excited for it this August. So, and the fact that Marvel has stuff going to 2028, I can't even imagine what they're gonna have going. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm all Marvel all the way. Like, I love these. I'll see any superhero movie, but what more the Marvel Universe is doing, as we'll see in a minute when we talk about Captain America, you'll see how over the moon I was for that. But spoiler for the review. But yeah, just what they're doing, just setting up this continuity universe, having people sign on for multiple films, these actors. It's just planting the seeds for something much, much bigger. And just the escalation, they've earned it. They've started this since 2008's Iron Man, and it just continues and continues to build into something really, really great.
Yeah, I mean, Avengers really, took it to a whole new level as far as, superhero movies go. I know people were really hoping for a great movie, and in some ways it even exceeded the expectations. I mean, The Avengers is probably my favorite Marvel movie. It was really well done. I liked, pretty much every character. And the fact that they can keep that kind of story going until 2028 is really amazing. I mean, they must have, their writers really must just, have it down right now.
Speaking of the Guardians of the Galaxy, to think that we have a big budget blockbuster coming in August that features a talking tree and a cursing raccoon, played by Bradley Cooper,
which excites me.
Excites me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is that's how much confidence they have in their products right now, and they should.
True.
They should. They have the third highest grossing movie of all time.
Yep.
They have Iron Man 3's in the top 10. Captain America: The Winter Soldier might end up there eventually because of the word of mouth it's getting.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Would not doubt it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but this is just great news for all Marvel fans everywhere.
Yeah, and with their confidence should give, all their fans confidence. I know I definitely have a lot of confidence in that.
Absolutely, man.
Good stuff.
Well, that's it for the top 5. It's time for my feature review of Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Take it away, Andrew.
Thanks, Jake. I'll always have a soft spot for the superhero movie. Granted, that's not exactly an original line of thought, as several of the most popular films of all time are from the genre. Most of these films are prototypical blockbusters, with the requisite amount of visual splendor and popcorn entertainment to satisfy 2 hours of time. But there's also just something extremely compelling to me about the principle of being a superhero. Many of them are underdogs, everymen who become something extraordinary through various circumstances and use their power for good. That's something just I would like to relate to, and I think others feel the same. Needless to say, I was excited for Captain America: The Winter Soldier, but even I wasn't prepared for what Marvel had in store. The Winter Soldier not only is a great superhero movie, it's on a completely different level. The film takes place roughly 2 years after the events of the Avengers, with Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, reluctantly working towards justice with tactical organization S.H.I.E.L.D., which is run under the watchful eyes, or eye in this case, of Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. The morally black and white captain, played once again by Chris Evans, is growing increasingly weary of dabbling in Fury's shady business, a problem that Rogers' partner, Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, doesn't have. She's played for the third time by Scarlett Johansson. When tragedy strikes and sides are questioned, Rogers and Romanoff are stuck with their backs against the wall, not knowing who to trust and where to go to say. To say any more would be dabbling in spoilers, and believe it or not, Captain America: The Winter Soldier is a film that can indeed be spoiled. The screenplay, written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, is chock full of twists and turns that not only genuinely surprise, but have huge ramifications in the grand scheme of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The story is concise and expertly paced, with little to no extraneous moments. Everything moves briskly and feels important, which plays a crucial role in the audience's investment. In turn, the 136 minutes whiz by without a hitch. The Winter Soldier operates in the vein of a political thriller and does an excellent job of balancing the expected character development and humor of a comic book film with the heavier themes of that genre. These motifs of loyalty, morality, and deceit allow Marvel to branch in exciting new directions, which can be seen in several standout scenes of both dialogue and action. The film just feels more intelligent for its own ambitions, let alone for the fantastic execution. At this point, Evans, Johansson, and Jackson are all extremely comfortable as their respective characters, and all of them turn in great performances in their meatiest roles to date. The legendary Robert Redford is excellent as Alexander Pierce, a higher-up in S.H.I.E.L.D., whose role in the plot is unclear until a bit into the film. Anthony Mackie nearly steals the show as Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, and his chemistry with Chris Evans is dynamic from the start. Sebastian Stan is silently menacing as the subtitular Winter Soldier in a role that requires his physicality to do much of the work. Speaking of the action, the set pieces come early and often, landing with a ferocity and brutality unlike anything I've ever seen in this genre. The direction of Anthony and Joe Russo, who previously had only helmed episodes of sitcoms Community and Arrested Development, is gritty and intentionally vicious. Every action beat is impressive, from an expertly staged car chase to a majestic dogfight between Falcon and some fighter jets. But the stuff that lands the hardest is the hand-to-hand combat, which is choreographed and cut together like a martial arts film crossed with the Jason Bourne series. It's really quite incredible. Any problems I have with The Winter Soldier are minor. The final act is a bit more generic when compared to the inventiveness of the rest of the film, and there is a subplot or two that feels incomplete. On the whole, however, this is a major success. I've seen the film twice now and can safely say that it is rock solid on repeat viewings. It truly is a turning point in the history of the Marvel Universe, and here's hoping we see the studio try to craft films with as much intuition and entertainment value as The Winter Soldier.
Well said, Andrew. I personally also like The Winter Soldier a lot. I know, unfortunately, I didn't get to see it with you the first time. Thank you for coming with me the second time.
You're welcome.
It was very well done. The acting, I agree, was good. And I also agree with, yes, it was a superhero movie, and it had that feel with Captain America, but it also kind of felt like a secret agent spy movie at the same time, which I really did like. It had a totally different feel from it than really any other Marvel movie I can think of.
I agree.
Really good.
And I just like how it's like kind of rooted in reality, but still is a superhero film. It's still got like it's got the Falcon, which of course is a ridiculous thing. It's got Captain America, but it's grounded in a way that gives the film stakes, I believe. The Winter Soldier and Captain America are both super soldiers, which means that they can still bleed and they still can be killed.
Right.
So it gives the action a little bit more of an edge and intensity.
Absolutely. Definitely did.
Are there any problems that you have with the film?
The only minor problems I can think of are, as good as the action sequences were, I felt like the camera may have been a bit too involved where it felt a little shaky, and you may, with some quick movement, you may not have realized what was going on at certain points.
Yeah.
Overall, nothing big. And there was one minor plot hole, not necessarily a plot hole an error with the story, I guess you could say that spoilers would give away, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
I think so. Yeah, and I recognize both those criticisms. I had a little bit of the problem with the action too, but I was just so invested in like what was going on that I didn't have as much of a problem with it.
Oh yeah, those are the only minor problems that I can think of. Overall, very well done movie.
All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take our trusty little whiteboard, and we are going to write down what our rating out of 10 is. So you're going to start, you're going to write it, and you're going to show it to camera.
All right.
The camera over there.
Well, for a superhero movie, I give it an 8.5. For a regular movie, I give it an 8. In between, I'm going to lead to an 8.5 because it really was well done. It was very well done as a superhero movie and a general movie alone. So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and give it an 8.5. Very well done movie.
Very nice, very nice. By the way, you rate your 8s really weird.
Yeah, I've been told. I read a lot of things.
Like, it looks like a snowman.
Yeah.
All right, so my turn. I'm a little bit higher on the film with you, and I feel like that's just because I've seen the film twice. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And like I said, I only have minor issues with it. But yeah, highly recommended by both of us, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't quite consider it as enjoyable maybe as the Avengers, but I mean, it comes very close, especially being that, I mean, how good Avengers was, how much of a success it was, how much of a hit it was. I definitely liked it better than the first Captain America. The second one definitely tops it. And I mean, as far as I can think of, it's my second favorite Marvel movie next to the Avengers.
Yeah, The Avengers is one of my favorite films of all time.
Yep.
And it's just a crowd pleaser. It just got so many amazing standout moments.
Absolutely.
And it's so funny. But if I were to pick what is a better made film per se, I think I'd pick The Winter Soldier.
I could definitely see where you're coming from with that too.
As far as the craft goes.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
with the spy, you know, like it felt more of a spy movie.
Yeah.
More of that kind of feel, which really gives it a serious feel, a real intense but really solid, fun feel at the same time. Very well done.
Absolutely. Well, now we're going to move on from The Winter Soldier, and we're going to move into our recommendation segment called There Can Be Only One. That's modeled, in case you don't know, that's modeled after the movie Highlander, which is a great sci-fi movie from the 80s.
I actually never seen it.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I'll get to that one.
That's one of the shticks of it. With The Winter Soldier coming out this week, we're going to talk about our favorite superhero sequels of all time. Jake, take it away.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to say my favorite superhero sequel and one of my overall favorite movies of all time has to be The Dark Knight. I know we're on the Marvel topic, but the sequel to The Great Batman Begins and the second installment of the Dark Knight trilogy has to be the top of the superhero sequels list. I mean, the mind of Christopher Nolan is pure genius in the ways he shaped Batman for this generation. Christian Bale was a great choice to play Bruce Wayne and is, in my opinion, the best Batman to date. The cast from top to bottom is well put together, and standing out is Heath Ledger, who gives in one of the most memorable performances I've ever seen. Ledger's portrayal of Batman's arch nemesis, the Joker, is truly outstanding and really looked like he was even crazy. Even more impressive, he topped Jack Nicholson's performance in the 1989 Batman, who is often thought to be one of the best actors of our generation. The Dark Knight has great acting, a great plot that has some good twists from the Joker himself, as well as effects, dialogue, and portrayal of the Caped Crusader. Nolan took a character who everyone knew and liked and turned him into a fan favorite and one of the most beloved heroes in the game. I really can't say I have any complaints whatsoever when it comes to The Dark Knight. It's that good.
You took my answer. I'm so mad right now. The Dark Knight is my second favorite film of all time. It is just a masterpiece in my mind. Yeah. It transcends everything about the comic book genres, all the tropes and all the preconceived expectations we have about it. It's not even a comic book movie for me. It's a cops and robbers drama, a really gritty drama. It just happens to have Batman and the Joker.
Right, to make it even better. And I'm going to give a comparison. I want to know if you agree with it or not. And in some ways, as much as I love superhero movies, The Dark Knight has reached such high expectations that unfortunately it's almost sort of not ruining, but dulling down some other movies in a sense. And I was going to say Breaking Bad is kind of doing that to some TV shows because I've always been invested in Walking Dead. Started Breaking Bad midway, and Breaking Bad has completely overshot Walking Dead in my opinion. And The Dark Knight, not as great of a sense, but in a sense has somewhat done that for me.
In case y'all can't tell, Jake is in the middle of his Breaking Bad marathon.
I am.
That was me at the beginning of the year. I've come down from the high, but I went to rehab and I got it all sorted out.
I'm struggling.
But yes, Dark Knight Syndrome is something that we're not just seeing in comic book movies. We're seeing these in dramas in general.
Yeah.
The idea that things have to be dark and gritty. We have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie coming out that looks dark and gritty.
No, it really does. It's frightening almost.
That tells you the stigma that The Dark Knight has left. It's
Yeah.
almost a curse, but then that would mean that The Dark Knight in some way left a negative impact, which it did not.
Absolutely
at all.
did not in any way, shape, or form.
And I mean, I can spend hours on Heath Ledger's performance. It's one of the greatest performances of all time.
I mean, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, I don't know if it's the best, but I mean, you could definitely make an argument for it being the best. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way.
It's just incredible how he invests himself in that role. But I want to give a little bit of attention to Aaron Eckhart, who plays Harvey Dent, who also does a great job at having to tread the line between morality and corruption. And it's just the themes of The Dark Knight. It's just they're so operatic and they're Shakespearean almost.
Yeah,
it's just something. I could go on for hours about The Dark Knight.
Yeah, no, me too. It's just, unfortunately we have to move on a little bit, but a good summary is The Dark Knight is, in my opinion, the best superhero movie of all time. One of the best movies of all time. I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that.
I completely agree. Well, since The Dark Knight was already taken, my pick would have to be Sam Raimi's 2004 hit, Spider-Man 2. The film holds a special place in my heart as it was one of the first PG-13 films I ever saw. But even today, as I go back and recognize it as a mature, yet still fun adventure, Raimi takes everything good about his 2002 original and improves on it with the themes of responsibility over self-pleasure really prevalent here. I prefer Andrew Garfield to Tobey Maguire as the web-slinger, but Maguire is at his best here at Spidey, accurately portraying the struggles of a confused and sometimes headstrong, yet noble young man. The supporting cast are all great, in particular Alfred Molina, who is both heartbreaking and captivating as the tortured Dr. Octopus. The scenes that have Molina's character are the best in the film. Raimi's unique visual eyes as strong as ever, everything looks like it's straight out of a comic book. In particular, the action sequences pop with creativity, in particular the big train sequence in the middle of the second act. 10 years later, Spider-Man 2 continues to stand as one of the best that the genre has ever had to offer, combining the spectacle of being Spider-Man with the tribulations of the man behind the mask.
Yeah, another great villain, Alfred Molina, Doc Ock. I mean, he may have been the best villain out of the 3 Spider-Man movies, in my opinion. I thought he did a great job as Doc Ock. Agreed, the train sequence was absolutely awesome. And the whole, struggle with Spider-Man was great to watch. I haven't seen the movie in a few years, but from what I do remember, I agree, this was definitely one of the better ones.
The thing that I notice about going back to it is if you take the 3 films, this is the most self-contained and most concise and tightly packed as a film. What I mean by that is that you don't have to have seen Spider-Man 1 or 3, in my opinion, to get like the full emotional impact of it. It's just the way that he portrays the themes in this film, the arc that Peter Parker goes through is completely self-contained, and you really don't need to see Spider-Man 1 except for maybe a few plot details.
Yeah,
and why characters are acting towards each other. Let's talk about the trilogy as a whole before we sign off. What do you think of 1 and 3? 1
was one of my first PG-13 movies, actually. I liked it a lot. I thought, drawing a blank, Green Goblin, actor was great. Willem Dafoe was great as a Green Goblin. And when I saw it when I was younger, he legitimately gave me nightmares. I'm not even kidding. I thought he was very good. I do overall like Tobey Maguire. The first movie I liked a lot. Second movie I liked a lot. The third I remember liking, but definitely was dulled compared to the other 2, unfortunately.
That's what I wanted to hear you talk about, because the third is very controversial as far as internet forums go and as the fan bases go. I believe it's a really messy movie, but I don't think it's a disaster that everybody else thinks it is.
I agree.
It suffers from too many characters and too many plot lines all mashed together in effort for more is more, when sometimes less is more. And that's one of the things we see in Spider-Man 2 specifically. Right. There's only one villain, really.
Right, it was great.
Yeah, and he was great. But everything is self-contained, and it all comes together in a way that is a perfectly neatly fit package with like a little bow on it. Spider-Man webbing bow.
Yeah.
But yeah. I've one last thing.
Yeah.
We want to talk a little bit about Andrew Garfield. I mean, we may be covering Amazing Spider-Man 2 in a few weeks because it's set for release. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about what you think of it as far as background goes.
Yeah, because I was going to say it's interesting you picked this one, within the month of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 coming out. I do like Andrew Garfield. I feel like he portrays the teenage side of Spider-Man a little bit better. I also didn't like how Tobey Maguire, even when it was a really upsetting scene, looked like he was smiling. That was one problem I always had. I do like Andrew Garfield. I do overall like Tobey Maguire. It's not really the casting I have a problem with overall. But again, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I am very excited for Jamie Foxx as the villain. I know a little off topic, but
Yeah.
very excited for that.
I'm a little skeptical of it, but that's something we can talk about on another day.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
And it looks like that other day will have to come another day. That's
Yep,
redundant.
it appears that we are at the end of this first episode in the middle seats. For everyone here at MCTV, I am Jay Kensler.
I'm Andrew Auger. Keep that seat warm, everybody. We'll be back soon.